This was the second half of the first match in the Darkest Days historical battle tournament being held at the Total War Centre. I, Cluny the Scourge, and my ally Selifator are playing as the Barbarians this time. I'm Germania, Selifator is Gaul, and our opponents, Confused Johnny and Dafuge, are playing as the Romans. Johnny is the Julii, Dafuge is the Senate. Now when the battle began, the Romans formed a coherent battle line with both armies linked together. Legions in front, skirmishers and missile troops skirmishing ahead, and artillery behind, cavalry on the wings. The Barbarians rushed right from the beginning over to our left and formed a line with the Germans out in the open, as you can see here, with the Spear Warbands ready to form a phalanx to anchor our right, and the specialist troops and infantry in the rear. The Gauls are linked up with me on my left inside the woods, hoping to take advantage. Now the first half of this match ended in a draw when we were playing as the Romans, so if we want to get a point for the tournament, we need to achieve a victory here. Now the dynamics of the situation here are that the Romans, with their artillery, have the means to subject the Barbarians to a strong psychological imperative to attack them, to come headlong into the Romans' defensive position, which would be pretty suicidal. Now at the beginning the Romans were using ordinary non-incendiary artillery, which is a bit of a wasted opportunity since the Barbarians are in such a thick formation there. Overflights and shortfalls from incendiary pots are more likely to hit something, and that will have a much stronger psychological compulsive effect upon us. Now the first serious moves of the battle were that the missile troops of the Julii and the Gauls engaged one another. Rhodian Slingers and Roman archers against Gallic foresters. The Barbarians have a clear advantage there, especially since they're firing from within the woods, and so are receiving a defensive bonus from missiles. Overall in this battle, the Barbarians of Bibracte have superior missile troops and stronger cavalry, while the Romans have far superior infantry, as well as having artillery available to them. Now here you see that the Julii are feeding their skirmish cavalry, the Cavalry Auxilia, into the woods, and they add their javelins to the missile exchange to try to overwhelm the foresters. But Johnny wisely doesn't attempt a charge by his Cavalry Auxilia against the foresters. Those Forester Warbands are the toughest archers in the game, and they're also inside the woods, and so will be receiving a Barbarian infantry fighting in woods advantage, while the cavalry would receive a penalty for it. But there's no doubt whatsoever that if they did try to make a move against those thin forward lines of archers, I think those cavalry would be defeated quite easily. Now here, over on the right, I've sent my skirmishers forward on loose formation in the hope of tempting the Senate's legions into wasting their pillar on expendable troops. If he's left them on fire at will, then they will release their javelins automatically. However, he hasn't, and they don't. So, nice idea, but it didn't work. And of course, those light javelins aren't going to have much effect against well-armoured early legionary cohorts. What's preying upon my and my allies' mind at this point is the need to try to sting the enemy into attacking us rather than simply bombarding us with their artillery. So we make a new move. We send all of our cavalry, still massed, to sit on our right and threaten the enemy's flank. Now our hope is that it will lure the enemy cavalry out to strike at us, and since we have the superior cavalry, we may be able to knock them out. Here you see that the Senate have reacted to the harassment of my Skirmisher Warbands by sending his legions forward to destroy them. What I was really hoping for was that he would continue going and attack my main force, but he doesn't take the bait. And the Julii, who were moving forward apparently to support that move, also come to a halt I send my infantry forward to close the gap between the Gauls and the Germans there, and the Gauls launch their attack. Now it's a frontal attack by naked fanatics and warbands against early legionary cohorts. They don't have much of a chance. However, the Romans have taken the bait with their cavalry. They split their cavalry, as you can see, the Julii going after the Germans and the Senate going after the Gauls. The Gauls, however, managed to achieve a partial encirclement. The Julii managed to achieve a partial encirclement of my cavalry there. They're going to have the upper hand in that part of the engagement. However, while my Spear Warbands are moving forward to engage and fix the Senate's legions in place, I send my 2 units of Axemen, my infantry, to support the Gauls in the cavalry battle way over on the right. Now with extra infantry support, we're certainly going to win that cavalry engagement. And here you see that even early legionary cohorts can't work their way through a phalanx by spear warbands front on. Those Senate infantry are now effectively fixed in place. They're ripe for the plucking for our cavalry later on. The Julii, on the other hand, are achieving much better success, at least where they're outside of the woods. They've routed the Gauls closer to the centre, but in the woods, where the Barbarians have an infantry advantage, they badly need the support of cavalry to strike at the rear of those Gauls, and that cavalry isn't going to be forthcoming. As you see, between the strength of the Gallic Noble Cavalry and the infantry that I sent to support them, we've now essentially knocked out the Roman horsemen. Here the Berserkers are chewing through the flank of the Senate legions that I fixed in place with my Spear Warbands. I absolutely love those Berserkers. Those guys are just nuts. Killing is their vocabulary. You say good morning to them, and they say kill. Now, as you can see, way over on our left, the weight of the Julii infantry is beginning to bear down the Gallic foot troops. However, charging to the rescue come all of the freed up cavalry now, and those Axemen also behind them there. And they're going to smack straight into the rear of those phalanx fixed Senate infantry. And the rout begins. And this is the key to fighting the Battle of Bibracte as the Barbarians. You must mass your cavalry, win the cavalry engagement, fix the enemy infantry, and then strike them from the rear. The Romans, on the other hand, must also try to mass their cavalry, and preferably keep their cavalry as close to their infantry as possible so they can receive infantry support in the eventual cavalry engagement. And there you see that the Noble Cavalry of the Gauls is now coming to support their infantry, and the Julii, who were doing so well, are suddenly forced into flight. They're running into the woods, but all they're going to receive in the woods is a deliverance style welcome. Here you see the last Senate troops are being surrounded. I will add that when you're fighting any kind of 2 versus 2 battle, a format I'm particularly fond of, it can be very advantageous if you can use Xfire or TeamSpeak with mics to set up a voice chat between allies, so you can coordinate your moves and give each other warnings and point out the sudden emergence of opportunities without the need to stop and type the message, which takes up vital seconds and also time for your hands away from the mouse and the keyboard that you need for issuing instantaneous instructions. Now, with the battle proper completed, the enemy sent a couple of units, archers and an Onager crew, scurrying away to try to hide from us and so achieve a draw by the elapse of the time limit. But we have cavalry and we hunt them down mercilessly. So we won the battle by heroic victory. This was the first match in the Darkest Days historical battle tournament. There are 4 teams who will play one another on either Bibracte or Carrhae. Carrhae was in fact the second match in the tournament, as you will see, but my ally and I were pretty satisfied with this one.